And welcome to Classic City Blue.
I love what I do.
Chief was very much involved into the neighborhood.
Finding your own way of policing and having confidence in it.
Handle the basics.
How do people treat you different?
Answer your calls.
You have a bigger impact than you think you do.
What kind of effect would it have on you, your family, or better yet, the agency?
And welcome to Classic City Blue, a podcast that takes you behind the scene of ACCPD. I'm your host, Lieutenant Enrique Rivera. Today's guest is Jay Ragsdale, who is currently in charge of the Chaplain and Peer Support Group. Jay, how you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
Awesome. Jay, we're going to start things a little different today. We're going to start off with a story.
Okay.
About a couple years back, I was working day shift. Okay, and we get a normal call to us, right? Accident for fatalities on Tallahassee Road. We get to there, and that call changed me forever. When I get there, for whatever reason, I thought one of the victim vehicles belonged to one of our current officers that I hold dear. Was one of my original training officers. So I get out of the car in panic, thinking it was him. I get to the car, find out it's not him. Moment of relief. Mm-hmm. That was quickly overtaken by a moment of how can I feel relief in this situation. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we were during the COVID stage. I had glasses. I had my mask on. You could not see, but I was bawling because I could not understand these emotions that I was currently having. Traffic showed up. We cleared the call. The next call, I was still bawling. Mm-hmm. I was still upset. I was upset for the whole day, basically. Luckily, they were having a debriefing that Friday. This happened on a Wednesday. That Friday, and I wasn't gonna go. I'm like, I'm a cop. I gotta suck this up and go. And luckily, my lieutenant at the time said, "Well, you're gonna go." And I'm glad I went. It gave me an opportunity to understand why I was feeling that way, and to understand that the police department had some resources that could help me, right? Mm. So those resources today are still available, correct?
Yeah.
So give me an in-depth of what resources would be available to somebody going through that same situation.
Okay. So Athens-Clarke County Police Department has a chaplain and a peer support program. I happen to be the director of both of those, so I wear two different hats. They are two separate programs, but the needs overlap each other, okay? So in critical incidents like that, you have access to volunteer chaplains, and there's 8 of us, and all you have to do is reach out to myself or the captain who is over the program, make a phone call, and we'll get somebody in touch with you. We can come out to the scene if need be, or we can meet elsewhere at a later date. The additional component that the chaplains bring is a spiritual component. Okay? Well, let me tell you what we don't do as chaplains. It's easier to talk about what we don't do sometimes, okay? We are not here to convince anybody or bring anybody around to a certain way of believing, okay? Not here to change anybody's religion. We're not here to preach to anybody. None of that, okay? We are here to be present. And that also is written into, by design, into our vision and mission statement, because just by showing up, just showing up can make a difference, right? Just by people knowing that we're there.
Yeah.
We're, as I said, we don't preach to people. If someone has a question that is spiritual in nature and wants to ask us, we'd be happy to discuss that with them, right? But ball's in their court.
Yeah.
They ask us. Okay, so we're not out to make converts or anything like that. We don't care what your belief system or lack thereof is. All right. So what do? Already said one. We are a calming presence in the storm. I mean, just being there. I mean, I've been on a few call outs now to where, our number one goal, as I said, is to help the officers and their families. But sometimes when we get on scene, the way to do that, the way to best help that officer is to deal with the family member that she or he is dealing with.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can act and have acted as liaisons between the police department and the family members, because as we discussed earlier, we show up on scene, we got a job to do.
Yeah.
Okay, whether it's a suicide or whatever the call is, we got a job to do, and there's a lot of moving parts, but family members are there. You've been there, I've been there. Everybody that wears the badge has been there, and those family members have questions, right? They have concerns. They feel lost in a lot of cases, and I mean, again, I've already been on a couple of call-outs. When I get there, I find the supervisor. I say, hey, what do you need, Sarge? What do you need, LT? I really need you to talk to the daughter. So that's the chaplain program. Peer support. So in 2019, the state of Georgia, thankfully, developed the Office of Public Safety Support, because the state realized that the way we as first responders have been handling critical incidents and caring for each other hasn't really been working. Because statistics show that as first responders, we take our own lives at twice the rate that the bad guys do. Our divorce rates are north of 75%, and there is a high number of first responders who choose drugs and alcohol as coping mechanisms. Okay? And so what peer support does is train peers, train people who work together about how to have meaningful conversations with each other, guided conversations, trains them on things to look for, certain questions to ask, because we're doing that already.
Yeah.
When we're on the road, we are talking to each other, and sometimes it's about work, but a lot of times it's about personal stuff. We're already doing that.
Yes, sir.
So why not train first responders about how to do that more meaningfully? Okay. So as a peer support resource in our department, we can do things like you just described, critical incident stress debriefs, CISDs as we call them. In fact, we had one yesterday.
Yeah. Now, a little history about you. You are retired from the Athens-Clarke County Police Department, and I believe you were one of the very first officers that I met in 2005 when me and others got employed. Now, you have seen both spectrums, right? Little help, a lot of help.
Yep.
Do you think that how much would it have helped you earlier in your career if we would have been doing this back then?
Well, I mean, that's impossible to answer accurately, but I can take a shot at it.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it would have helped tremendously because when I first started in 2001, this is when I got hired and started on the road on my own in early 2002. A debrief sounded something like this after a critical incident. Sounded something like your sergeant coming up to you going, hey, are you good? Are you good? Okay, great. When do you think you can go back into service? Right?
Yeah.
That's what a debrief was.
Yeah.
I mean, what were you going to say? No, I'm not good. I shouldn't have seen that.
Yeah.
That's not normal, what we just witnessed, okay? Yeah. There was no avenue for us to say that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so now there is an avenue. We can say, no, I need a breather. I need a breather for a minute.
Yeah.
And I think more law enforcement agencies and other first responder, I say, that first responders of fire, EMS, SO, anybody with the badge, right? It's becoming more and more, and I think it's a good thing, more and more acceptable for people to say, no, I'm not okay right now. How do I become okay?
Yeah, and I think as law enforcement, that's been our one of the big issues, right? You can't be vulnerable.
Yeah.
We just saw that. We just saw that horrific incident. Oh yeah, we're fine. We're fine. And I think eventually in anybody's life, it'll catch up to you. It caught up to me that day, right?
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
And that was what hit me the most is, I've been here 21 years and never felt that way.
Yeah.
And I could not understand why.
Yeah.
Why? I've seen horrible things. Why am I like this?
Yeah.
Why? And I mean, it put me in a bad spot until I was told, hey, you reached your limit of how much you can take, and this, broke it because you've been hiding it. You've been putting it away in the cupboard, and now you got no more space.
Yeah, I refer to it as the bucket.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody's got a bucket, and a bucket has a limit. You can fill it up to a certain point, and if you reach that point and you keep putting stuff in your bucket, guess what? It's going to start to overflow.
Yes.
Right? And there's got to be a way to pour some of that stuff out.
Yeah.
Right? Or, maybe there's a little hole in the bucket somewhere so that it can seep out over time to it's not up to here. Because in my case, you just described yours, I was the same way. I mean, after 20 years, I thought, I got this. This is fine. This doesn't bother me.
Part of the job.
Just part of the job doesn't bother me anymore. But what was happening, I didn't realize it because I'm in the middle of it, right? But what was happening was I'm learning how not to feel.
Yes, you go numb.
How not to feel.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the callousness became part of who I was. There's anger.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And you don't know, okay, that's just part of it. You just put that, keep dumping it in the bucket, right? Until, and I don't know where I got it from. I've read it or heard somebody else say it, but the body will find a way. Right?
Yeah.
Your body will find a way for that stuff to come out. And for me, it came in the form of panic attacks.
Yes.
And I had never had one. I worked an entire career. They didn't start happening until the end of my career.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was happening, right? Because I had no education. I had nothing to compare it to because I never had one before.
Yeah.
Right? And so once I figured out with the help of someone else who said, hey, I think you're having a panic attack, because he's another officer, right?
Yeah.
Who said, I think you're having a panic attack because I have them too. And just hearing that, I mean, he didn't know it. I didn't know it at the time, but he was providing peer support, right? Yeah. Hadn't been through the class or anything like that, but that's exactly what was going on. He named it.
Yeah.
He named it. I'm like, okay, all right. Maybe I'm not dying. Maybe there's more to what's going on than, I need to find out more about this kind of stuff, right? And so I won't get into all of, so I left in 2021. I had just reached my limit, hit the wall, and I wasn't interested in going through the wall or getting around it or going over it or under it. I was done.
Yes.
Okay, I was done.
Yeah.
And so I knew it was time for me to leave. And so I did. And a lot of things happened, positive things, right, that helped me start that healing process. Okay. And for me, and I'm speaking for me, right, reconnecting with my faith, because I have a background in ministry, and a lot of people didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Before I started, as a police officer, a background in ministry. And so I took a 20-year break from that
Yeah.
to be a cop.
Yeah.
Right, and that just went on the back burner. But reconnecting with that was huge for me, and reconnecting with people. You mentioned your emotions, right? They just kind of came out
Yeah.
on scene.
Yeah. No
And
control.
same with me. I mean, I found myself I found myself getting emotional, and I didn't know why.
Yeah.
And it kind of was unsettling because I didn't know why.
Because we're meant to be in control.
Yeah, but this is after I left.
Yeah.
This is after I left. I mean, I found myself getting emotional, just at weird times and weird places, and I mentioned it to my wife one day, and she said, those are called emotions. You were learning to feel things other than anger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, that hit hard because I didn't see it. I didn't see it, but everybody around me did.
Yeah. And nobody tells you.
And nobody tells me.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're the lieutenant. Nobody's going to tell you.
No.
Hey, you need to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to check yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? Nobody's going to tell you that. Your family may. And mine did, but my response was defensive. Right? They had the problem, not me.
Not me. Yeah.
Not me.
And I think that's where we failed each other in the past, right?
Yes.
When you saw, something that affected somebody, instead of say, hey, bro, if you need to talk, I'm here.
Yep.
I was always scared to say that. And then two things. Oh, you would think I was the weak person, or I would open a box that I could not close back.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
yes.
And I think that's why. So we offer CISDs, stress debriefings, after almost all of our critical incidents. Sometimes they're well attended, and sometimes they're not. Why are they not well attended? You would think that, okay, we're offering that. You just went through this horrible thing, and we're offering this thing that may help you better deal with what you just witnessed or experienced or whatever. But a lot of times it's not. People just aren't coming. Why is that? And I think it gets back to something you said a second ago. We don't want to feel vulnerable.
No.
I mean, I'm going to sit in a room and talk about my emotions. No. Right?
Yeah.
Right. But when people do that, and you saw it yourself, when people do that, something happens. You realize that you're not alone.
Yeah.
So a critical incident can be anything like like you said, a fatal accident. It could be an officer-involved shooting. It could be the shooting or stabbing of someone else. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be like one of the big, what you and I would consider to be one of the huge calls.
Yes.
Right? It could be something small.
Yeah.
It's that small thing that was the last thing dropped into your bucket that sent you over the edge.
Yeah. And like you just said it, right? Critical can mean different to everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Critical can be a first-time father or mother.
Yeah.
When you're going, that's the last stressor, the bucket that sends you. And now you got to deal with that stressor and nobody there to say, hey, I got you. We've all been through it.
Right.
And that was my fear was, am I feeling something that's new to me or that everybody has experienced?
Yeah.
And the fear of having somebody judge me and say, oh, what's wrong with you, kept me from saying,
yes,
I need help.
Well, because see, that's why we isolate ourselves as law enforcement.
Yeah.
Right? And we isolate and insulate. That's what we do. And there's a great book out there called Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement Officers. And that's a must read for anybody in the profession, but for their families as well, because it talks about those kind of things, those stressors that you don't see, we don't see, but our family members see. And one of the things that we like to do is that the book talks about, we all have a circle, right? We have a circle, and in our circle are people that we invite. It's our friends, our co-workers, relatives, whoever. As we continue in this career, unchecked, right? We're not doing things to help mitigate the bad stuff.
Right.
We start shrinking that circle.
Yeah.
We start shrinking that circle. You know, we like, nobody understands us, so we take them out of that circle.
Yeah.
Right. That's our feeling. That's our thought. Nobody understands us. Everybody's a jerk. And then what you realize is you're left with a circle with who in it? You. And that's a very lonesome and a very dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And that's what peer support and the chaplain program tries to help address, is that you're not the only one. You're not the only one going through this.
Yeah.
You're not the only one feeling this. Yes, it's horrible what we have to see, and because you think about it this way, Ricky. Most people, civilians, okay, may experience one or two what we would call critical incidents or traumatic, like significantly traumatic events in their lifetime. How many can we see a shift?
4 or 5.
A shift.
Yes. 8 hours.
So it's like a fire hose is filling up our bucket.
Yeah.
All right. So there's things that we do, and we can perhaps talk about this in a couple minutes, that can help take away some of that stress.
Now, I want to ask you a couple questions, right? So you said in 2021, right? That's when the state of Georgia said, "Hey."
No, 2019 is when
Okay.
peer support.
And when did we start?
We started shortly thereafter.
Okay.
I don't know the exact date or year. But
Now, we offer other agencies this. Okay. So, what is your, and this is obviously personal, right? What is your take? Is it helping?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. I know it's helping. I've been through the training. I've talked with people from other agencies who've been to the training. Been through resiliency training. Talked with other officers in those classes. And you'd asked me a question earlier. There was a resiliency class that I took. And a peer support class. 2 different classes, 2 different people said the same thing. If this was offered when I first started, I might have stayed longer.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's the out.
Because that's what resiliency is. It's about learning how to bend without breaking.
Yeah.
And so how do you do that? I mean, there's any number of things that we can do.
So now that you brought up resilience, what is it when we talk about law enforcement, right? Because resilience, we always have to look at the civilian and the police, right? What does that mean to the police officer? What does that mean in law enforcement?
Resilience. Okay.
Yes.
So, simplest way I can, and I just said it, just define it, is the ability to bend without breaking. And why is that important? Because we still have a job to do.
Correct.
You talked about your incident and the emotions you were feeling when you came upon that fatal wreck, but you still had to go back to work.
Yeah.
You still had to go back to work, and that's not going to change. That's part of this job. All right. But resiliency teaches you, how to go back to work without letting that define you, right? As define the rest of your shift and the rest of your career as a first responder, as a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what, when we see these horrific stuff on TV, right? And people call you and say, "Man, what do you think happened to the officer that sometimes, loses it?" I'm gonna say loses it, right? Yeah. I tell many people, I said, let's look at what his day looked like.
Yeah.
Because that was a traffic stop then. But let's look at where he was before.
Yes.
Did he have to do CPR to a child?
Yep.
Prior to getting to this?
Yep.
I said, it's just not, it's just a traffic stop. No, we got to look at the whole day.
You have to look at the whole day. It's great you bring that up, because yesterday we had a critical incident stress debrief. It was the result of a horrific fatal accident. It was a quadruple fatality accident out on the 10 loop just before Christmas. And one of the themes that came up during that meeting was what we're just saying. You know, we had to deal with this horrible thing. And for many of the people in that debrief, it was the worst call they've been on to this point in their career. And one of the EMTs said, you know, after showing up and dealing with what they had to do, then they had to go deal with somebody with a hurt toe. Right?
Yeah.
You just dealt with all this death and destruction, and this other person's got a hurt toe. So they call the ambulance to come deal with that.
Yeah.
It's the same with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with whatever it could be, whether it's a fatal accident or a deceased baby. Those are all. I mean, those are the hard ones. Later that day, you're going to have to deal with the barking dog, right? Yeah. And you've got to somehow figure out how to put all this stuff together and make sense of it all.
So now that you brought that up, you know, obviously, like you said, we have to go back to work, right? What advice would you give to an officer for that moment? Obviously, you know, we can get people on the phone, but for that moment, like you said, we got to go back to work.
You got to go back to work.
So what would you say? Hey, what ideas or what coping mechanisms would you say? This is what you need to do, or this is what I would need to do until we can get through the day.
Yeah. So, well, I'll begin by saying every case is specific to that individual officer. So what may work for one, what may be beneficial for one is not a one-size-fits-all, okay? In general, what I can say is what we've been doing right here, talking about it. And that doesn't mean that you've got 5 or 10 minutes or whatever after the incident, you got to spill your guts to somebody.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as saying to a fellow officer, that was messed up, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. Just verbalizing it, right? Just verbalizing it. This may come as a shock to you, but we as cops often use a lot of dark humor.
Yes.
And that actually is beneficial. Well, as long as it's appropriate, not on scene, never on scene.
Correct.
As a supervisor, I would stress that. People don't need to see you laughing and cutting up on scene.
Right.
Okay. I understand you've got to do that.
Yeah.
But wait until you go back in service and you can meet privately somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So that's a coping mechanism. All right. There's so many. Talking about it, number one, because
get it out of your head.
You get it out of your head and out into the open.
Right.
Okay. If it's somebody you trust, even better. As law enforcement officers, we are afraid to approach another law enforcement officer and get inside their circle.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing. If we don't do that, we're doing them a disservice.
Big disservice.
We're doing them a disservice.
Big disservice.
Because peer support, it trains you to ask that hard question.
Yeah.
And this is why I think it's so beneficial today. We're expected to ask. If we are really, really concerned about somebody, to get with them and go, are you thinking about killing yourself today?
Yeah.
That's an okay question to ask.
Yeah.
That's a necessary question to ask.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, then there's a protocol for that, right? Yeah. I mean, we're going to go this direction. If it's no, then we'll go another direction, right? But we need to ask it, because if we don't, huge disservice.
Yeah.
Huge disservice we're doing to our fellow officers.
Yeah, which, it's always been, I've always been amazed that we are willing to run into burning buildings.
Yep.
But we're not willing to say, "Hey, man, are you okay?"
Yeah.
I can never
get.
And I've also gone through the peer class, and then I said, "Man, how many times have I not seen somebody and said,
yeah?"
And I was just, no, I'm not gonna ask. I'm gonna ask you a very important question. I've asked several people, and I've gotten different answers. So right now, we're at 2001. You now see first day Officer Ragsdale.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best advice you would give him?
Wow, that is a great question. Your family matters, right? And I'm very blessed that I have a very understanding wife. We've been married 37 years, and she put up with all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And stood with me through all of that stuff. Just your family, don't neglect your kids. Don't neglect your significant others. Okay. Find healthy ways of work out more.
Yeah.
Eat better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Drink less or not at all. If you're not a drinker, don't start.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't add it to the.
Don't add it to the bucket.
Yeah. Don't add.
Because there are so many first responders out there that can tell you, and I've met a lot of them, and so have you. It's like, man, that was my undoing.
Yeah.
That was it. And I thought I had it under control, but kicked my butt.
Yeah. Got me.
Got me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay, thank you for your time and thank you for all the information you've given us.
Mm-hmm.
And that concludes this episode of Classic City Blue.